Welcome, classic rock fans, to the 10 best albums of 2023. So far, that is. If you're new to this channel, please do click like, subscribe, check that notification bell, do all that important stuff that helps this channel grow. It's always much appreciated. Anyway, let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? Number 10 is the Lemon Twigs and Everything Harmony. This band hail from Long Island, New York. And if you're looking for that chilled vibe, look no further. I think this album may just be your cup of tea. It's ethereal, it's melodic, his voice is soar, acoustic guitars are plucked, and moustaches get droopier as you listen. It's so sublimely beautiful in many respects. It leaves the listener overcome with a kind of a wooziness, lost amid this forest of folky pluckings and gauzy guitars and synth sounds, and that's even just track one. I cannot make up my mind with this record. I often wonder if it's supposed to be some sort of pastiche of mid-American melodic folk pop. A kind of Crosby, Stills and Nash parody in many respects. I mean, the title in itself, Everything Harmony, puts a significant bloop on the old irony radar. This album revels in the licks and lyricisms of melodicism and miserableism. Interesting palette to be drawing from. When Winter Comes Around, which I read as metaphorically, gives way to the more upbeat In My Head, which has a real sing-along vibe to the pathology of mental decline. Whatever these guys are on, I want some of it, to be honest with you. He sings, I will never share these dreams with anyone. I mean, no shit, he's probably fearing a 5 to 10 stretch, I suspect. I love the Beach Boys-esque harmonies, melded to what seems to be some real existential shit going on as well. Every day is the worst day of my life and Born to be Lonely, all accompanied by the upbeat rhythm and jangly guitars. It's like the bastard progeny of Brian Wilson and the Smiths. There's also a gorgeous and an intriguing referencing of 1950s balladry here as well. An easy listening vibe, syrupy country rock. Great listen. Number 9 is on Atand and Anna, Principia. This band is sometimes known as EAA. They're a French band, but we mustn't hold that against them, of course. I adore the indie jangle pop of this one. It feels so effortless. Almost as if they kind of stumbled across it by accident. They have a real 90s vibe to them, and this album has a real lo-fi charm and a certain whimsy to it, which is just compelling, makes it compelling listening as far as I'm concerned. This is their third album, apparently. It's the only album of theirs I actually know, and it's gorgeous, heartfelt pop. Indie pop rock, I don't know how you want to define it, if you must define it, that is. Catchy, jangly and drony. It's like some of the seven dwarfs of the indie movement have got together and created this album. But it also employs robotic rhythms, which seems to be a nod to the minimalism of krautrock, melded with the delicate observations of navigating the modern world. If you're in France, that probably includes having a fire extinguisher. Number 8 is Chaos and Colour by Uriah Heep. I must admit, when this came out, I was a little bit concerned it wouldn't meet the expectations I had of it, that it wouldn't be as good as the previous album. But it's absolutely fantastic, replete with that throbbing Hammond sound and excellent melodic guitar licks by Mick Box. This is absolute just classic Heepness. I'm not going to say too much about this album, as I've already done a full review on it. There's a card just up there if you want to check that out. But number 8 is definitely Uriah Heep's Chaos and Colour. Number 7 is Council Skies by Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. This is moorishly nostalgic stuff, harking back to a time when music actually mattered. A chugging slice of noughties indie, if you will, which for me breaks away from the rather derivative Britpop sound. In fact, he actually explores some interesting, what I would call new wave textures and atmospheres on this album, as well as the guitar-orientated pop of the 60s, psychedelia, glam. It's an exercise in mishmashery. But he certainly seems to be working with a more expansive palette these days, which can only be welcomed. Although this album was dismissed by The Guardian as being unambitious and generic, which I totally disagree with. This is his best album musically and lyrically. His influences are firmly on display, not as blatantly as all the Beatles porn we got in the 1990s. It definitely catches his mellow best and songwriting best, I think, as he once more bears his arse to his brother. My favourite tracks are Dead to the World, Love is a Rich Man, but they all kind of wash over you like a warm bath of guitar strummings. Number 6 is this extraordinary album, which is Cara Jackson's Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love? Chicago-based writer Cara Jackson has seriously impressed me with this album, the way she sneers and swoons at the sheer messiness of love and life. The songs have a lyrical poignancy with stark lines, such as, and isn't that just love, a will to destruct, and the quasi-lullaby of no fun party. All delivered with this palpable ache of swirling harp notes and beautiful orchestration. It elicits chills, it really does, leaving the listener quite exposed, questioned even. She plays at this raw yet understated emotion and letting the lyrics do all the kind of heavy lifting on this album. The joy with this record is how it makes you feel when you listen to it. I love some of the atmospherics that accompany the guitar pickings and brutal observations with lines like, some people sought lines to be recognised. There is a nonchalant shrug to her delivery, but this is accompanied by this cosmic, tripping country pluckings, at times sounding like Suzanne Vega on fentanyl. It's an album of contrasts, and the production is beautiful on this. It's stark and real, very much bringing out the more theatrical use of her voice, which in itself is unpolished and stark, yet deep, rich and mellifluous. A wonderful talent, I think. Number 5 is John Cale's Mercy. I love the dark, ambient drone of this one. It's like Enigma, but Welsh. There's a pulsating, electronic, Eno-esque drum to this, which serves as the very heartbeat of the record. Let's not forget John Cale was one of the founding members of the Velvet Underground, that band that brought together the European art music and American rock and roll. He was also credited as the guy that introduced Jeff Buckley to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, and at the age of 80 produces this masterpiece. Mercy is John Cale's first album in 10 years, I believe, one of the best I've heard from him. The sheer variety and eclectic swing of the piece is replete with a kind of a disorientating swirliness. Heartfelt crooning, all accompanied by the shimmering rhythms of this music. Even the title alone needs to be up there with Leonard Cohen's You Want It Darker, a summing up perhaps. But even as he wrestles with the knotty subject of life and possibly the end of it, he brightens the album by filling it with more contemporary rhythms. I particularly like the jazzy piano at the start of A Story of Blood, and a Moonstruck Nico song is a nice touch. Number 4 is Queens of the Stone Age and In Time's New Roman. The band have stated that with this one they wanted to make something that sounded as brutal as it is to be alive right now, and my word, it is brutal. This is their 8th album, and to quote the band once more, they wanted to create music that was like walking deeper into the darkness. This album puts this band exactly where we want them, back in the sludge. It deals with pain and the disappointment of modern life and ageing, and there is a rawness to the sound that I think has been missing from some of their more recent releases. It certainly is a grotty listen, one that delves deep into the glory and the scum of every human heart. Emotional Sickness has been described as a bit of a Frankenstein's monster. It's certainly a song that feels stitched together from disparate melodies and angst-laden lyrics. I love the tune What the Peepholes Say and the Iggy-esque Made to Parade. It's an album that seizes the zeitgeist as it focuses on that kind of post-pandemic malaise. He sings at one point, I did not notice the weight of the chains till they were cut from me, how I'd dragged them for so long. Number 3 is Depeche Mode and Memento Mori. My word, Depeche Mode are gloomy buggers these days, and hurrah for that, being a bit of a gloomy bugger myself. This is their 15th album, and Memento Mori deals with the reminder of the finality of life. The clue is in the title, and the title, of course, is one that they picked before the death of founding member Andrew Fletcher. Acknowledging mortality ironically provides the beating heart of this record. The album never feels heavy-handed or even particularly gloomy, in fact. In terms of its miserableness, I've heard darker. There were those of my age that have watched this band transition from the squeaky button pushers to the almost alternative music titans that they have become. That's no doubt due to their life experiences and experimentation with certain substances, and near-death encounters, of course, all add to the mix. Not to mention creative differences and departures, but as NME point out, you can't make an omelette the size of the Mode without having to break a few eggs. In a nutshell, then, this is an album that's informed by loss, but not dominated by it. There is a message here to be observant, to be appreciative, to be alive. You know, salvation and resurgence also pulsates through this one. Number 2 is Lana Del Rey's Did You Know There Was a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard. This album is magnificent. It's trippy, floaty, mind-fuck balladry. But it's an album that sits quite comfortably next to arguably her best album, which was Norman fucking Rockwell. Especially in terms of referencing that great American songbook. You get familial interrogations on this, which at times feel a little bit uncomfortable, as she demonstrates or starts to deconstruct her own myth as a musician, child, woman, artist, and even addresses many of the rumours that have been floating around in the press recently, beautifully referencing her own catalogue, which she samples for this one, almost using her own voice to reshape her own narrative. This is a haunted and haunting album. If you'll forgive me for quoting Guardian, it rives from the shadows into bitchy jump rope rap, toying with perceptions of older women and imperfect victims. The songs ponder loss, sexual awakening, and the harrowing reality of carrying trauma into adulthood. And the title track is a real stand-up moment. It's ornate and quite beautiful, in fact. Number 1 is The National and the first 2 pages of Frankenstein. NME have described this band as the self-proclaimed kings of sad sack mope dad rock, which is me down to a T, I think. There is the lethargic and pathological darkness at the heart of this, their own brand of Americana. Yet there is a lightness of touch to this one as they gather round for this gloomy parlour music. This album is right up there with a brilliant High Violet, in my opinion. And it shed some of the prickle and desperation of 2017's Sleep Well Beast, nor does it construct all those conceptual conceits from 2019's I'm Easy to Find. This album feels very stripped back, and what's interesting in terms of the overall sound of this record is the guests that they use on it. For example, Phoebe Bridgers' harmonies elevates the stately chamber rock ballad This Isn't Helping to not just being a great number, but being one of their best numbers, I think. As I've said, this album could sit quite comfortably next to what I would consider their best album, which is High Violet, but also compare favourably against the wonderful Trouble Will Find Me, whose sad sack of shit anthem, Pink Rabbits, appealed to me then as it does now. So there you are, that's my list of the 10 best albums of 2023 so far, in my opinion. Please do click like, subscribe, check that notification bell. It makes all the difference to this channel, helps it to grow. And if you like this video, do consider sharing it. Other than that, I'll leave you with my closing salvo, which is, as you know, hope you're well, staying safe, and that you keep listening.